Welcome to the Real Retirees of New Jersey, powered by Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. Randy and Peggy Fisher want to help you retire once and retire right. Get more information at therealretireesofnewjersey.com. They never throw the first punch, but they're always a knockout.
Welcome to another episode of the Real Retirees of New Jersey. If you came to this podcast hoping to get something that is going to help you in your future with your retirement, you've come to the right place. If you also hear the title of the show, or you've seen the title of the banner as you're listening to this right now, and you're like, Real Retirees of New Jersey, is that anything like the Real Housewives? Well, I don't know. Stick around. Find out. It might be exactly what you're thinking that it is. My name is Jeff Miles. I am joined by Peggy and Randy Fisher. Peggy, Randy, how are you guys feeling?
Doing great.
Doing
How
good.
are you, Jeff?
Very, very good.
I can't wait to get to this topic. This is going to be unbelievable.
You know what? It's it's a situation, and I would say that so many people find themselves in a relationship of any kind of, it's a romantic relationship that could go south at any point in time. But when you rush into things, you may be rushing too fast. And it's a story about this woman. She actually lives in California, and it has to do with like what she had coming into the marriage, but also the fact that she didn't think that this is gonna last, because he's turned into a major bleep hole, if you will. But then also it's kind of one of those situations where she's like, okay, I got to figure out how to get out of this, but get out of this in the best possible net worth situation I can. You know, what are my options? So I'll give you a little bit of a story that she submitted to this guy. His name's Quentin Fautrell on MSN's money section. Here's the title. You ready? He's planning to bleed me dry. My husband turned into a monster after we married. I own a $1.3 million home. How do I save myself and my savings? She says, when I met my husband in 2019, he was charming, bought me gifts, and told me I was the most beautiful woman in the world. He wrote me the most eloquent and loving text messages, which I would save on my phone because I thought they were priceless poems we could share with our grandchildren. I mean, this sounds like a Disney princess movie just starting off right now.
Yeah, Hallmark show.
Right. It says, after a whirlwind romance where I felt like he saw all the gifts I had to offer him, love, humor, companionship, and, as it turned out, financial stability, we got married. He proposed after 3 months, and then we lived happily ever after, right? No. He turned into a monster days after our wedding. He was a different person, gave me the silent treatment on vacation, had fits of rage over nothing, fell into sullen moods lasting weeks, blames me for talking about my career, and accused me of being self-centered. I thought he was depressed or had some other neurological issues. But if his sister called, he would miraculously brighten up and act like he did when we first met. I said as I was leaving, he would become compassionate and loving again. He was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. She goes on to say, we live in a home in Los Angeles that I bought prior to our marriage, $900,000. Says for what it's worth, it's now $1.3 million. Got a 401k. She's got $140,000 in that account. Planning my escape after 5 long years, feeling foolish for staying in this marriage for so long. He worked freelance. Freelance is also another word for
bum.
Maybe, yeah. So he worked freelance and relied on me to pay most of the bills. Everything was always everyone else's fault. Clients never paid him, or so he said. He always kept his bank account secret. The man is going to bleed me dry. He said as much, and he even makes scathing references to my wealthy family. I know now that he doesn't love me, and if he does, it's not the kind of love that I want to make me happy. It's a controlling and changeable kind of love. For a long time, I thought I was going crazy until, one by one, my friends told me that they did not believe he was good for me. I know he chats with other women online, and I'm not sure he has ever been faithful to me in his own heart or otherwise. I was a relatively happy, stable person before I met him. Today, I'm a shadow of my former self. Should I start hiding my money? How do I save myself and my finances?
Number one, get yourself a good lawyer, is what I think.
First of all, it's California, so need we say more?
Right.
Second of all, she sounds like a sugar mama and he's a gold digger. But as you mentioned, he was a do nothing, right?
Freelance, yeah.
So what did he do? I mean, you never really got to what he actually really did.
No.
She really doesn't go into the type of freelance work that he does, other than he just said that clients didn't pay him for whatever. It's maybe he was a consultant. Consultant is like the upgraded version of freelance worker. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like 90 Day Fiancé, all right? Isn't that the crazy show on one of those TV shows? They find each other and in 90 days they get married.
Right.
I don't know. It's this is just nuts.
Yeah.
But,
First and foremost, I would tell her to get one of the best lawyers she could possibly drum up. If she's got some cash, go find yourself a really, really, really good lawyer to help protect with the money that she had going in. But I think if it's California, they have some crazy laws where it's just 50-50. What you came into the marriage with, what you're in the marriage with, we're going 50 down the line.
And it turns into a Dateline episode.
Yeah, and that's if there's no prenup.
I'm putting a hit out, right?
If there's a
going.
prenup, that's the only way out. But I think in the state of California, I was reading up on California's laws. That's 50-50 over there.
So she could end up
thankfully,
losing.
we don't have a lot of clients in California. So
Yes, right.
that's the first good thing.
So let's say that this was in New Jersey, and we kind of talked about this in our last episode about the equal and fair part, and now trying to put fair on certain things.
Right. Yeah, New Jersey is an equitable division state, meaning property is divided fairly, which doesn't necessarily mean 50-50. It just means fairly. So, what does that mean to a judge? What does that mean to,
Jeff,
to the
we handle
parties
things
involved?
a little differently up here in New Jersey. We call pulling walnuts and take care of that. And then the guy's never found, and your wife lives happily ever after.
Refuse. Yeah.
That's called a Sicilian divorce.
Yeah. So here's I'm just going to throw a curveball in this whole thing. You ready? So speaking to the equitable part, let's say that as they go through their divorce proceedings, whatever, comes out that he is kind of a more equitable person. She says that he had a secret bank account. He had, wasn't really forthright. What if he was setting her up this entire time to basically take from her this is almost like a scam, so to speak, where it's like, you find that unsuspecting person that just happens to have high net worth, and you move in, you end up taking what you can get as much as you can, and you walk away from it. I mean, what does that person do in that situation?
Well, we always, even just with our own clients, a lot of them, like when they initially come in, we like to be transparent with them and talk about what is it that they do have. And I think the biggest problem that we see is if certain couples don't know what they have, and this is going before you would even come to us, is to sit down together. What is a budget? What is our plan? What do we have? Are you a spender? Are you not a spender? I mean, we just had clients in recently who, the wife is not a spender and the husband was a spender. And that's been done differently too on both sides. One may be the spender or not.
Sure.
And then you have to come up to some kind of agreement with them or help them out with that aspect of, how to talk about finances and how to prepare for things like retirement, or how to prepare for just, getting yourself out of debt, or how to prepare yourself, with budgeting and sticking to it. I mean, it's just a matter of, if you're a married couple, is to first, talk about, these issues. Because the first thing that they say too is in any marital, financial woes, is to not ignore. That's number one. Do not ignore the problem, because the problem will not go away. And in fact, it'll probably only get worse. So it's about talking about setting financial goals, or sitting down with a financial planner and setting up goals for, a marriage together, or helping plan for retirement going down the road.
I'll take this crazy story from a different angle. So looking to potentially help people in this scenario. Many people that we've gotten together with that have been going either through a divorce or thinking about going through a divorce, one of the things in an equitable situation is understanding what the assets are. So for instance, let me give you an example. Let's say one person has a 401k, but the other one person doesn't. They obviously maybe own half the house. One person may have a pension, the other one doesn't. Where does equitable come into the scenario, right? So it depends on what type of asset it is. Can it be blown? Is there fluctuation? Or what's the proper market value of it today? We've had people fight over season tickets, and then they've basically blown a 401k account on purchasing season tickets through a divorce. We've seen the craziest things in your entire imagination. And then when you talk to people about that and they say, well, I got the house, but now I need to pay it off. Well, wait a minute. What do you mean you got the house? Well, yeah, I got the house, but there's a $700,000 mortgage on it. So what did he get? He gets to keep his $1.3 million 401k. Yeah. Okay, that's great. So he got to keep the 401k. You got to keep a house, but the house has no equity. But now you need to pay for the house. But he has 100% equity because it's basically cash in a 401k account, right?
Sure.
And then what it was the person or the lawyer or the attorney or whoever it may be swindled the other partner in thinking that, well, the 401k is worth this, but if the market goes down, it could be worth nothing.
Right.
Right.
So then the person says, well, I want the house. I don't want the 401k.
Mm-hmm.
So understand, I would say this, you also have to have the understanding of what an asset really is, right? What is really an asset? What's a liability? What is a long-term asset? What's the cash flow plan from a pension plan versus a 401k plan versus a bank account? Maybe 529 plans that are sitting in kids' accounts or trust accounts or whatever it may be. In a divorce, and in divorces, I should say, quadro accounts, qualified distribution accounts, are probably one of the biggest things that people take into consideration. And what we see is the inability of one partner to understand the full value of that account versus the other. Right. And then there's always a negotiation to something else, right? Or and another side of that is a pension. Many times, I don't want to throw police officers under the bus here. Yes. A lot of police officers have pension plans. Unfortunately, some of those people in the police force, they get divorces.
Yes.
They want to protect that pension plan so much that they then give away other things for it. But what the spouse of the police officer doesn't understand is that pension plan is so lucrative and so important to income for the rest of your life for such a lengthy period of time. Because a lot of these police officers, if you work 20, 25 years, you can retire at 40. Let's say I come out of high school and then I go to a 2-year school in college or whatever it may be, even 4-year school in college. At 20 some odd years old, I worked 25 years. By 50, 45 years old, you have some of these police officers that are retiring with a full pension, right?
Wow.
Then they can go out and get another job.
Mm-hmm. And they can double up on the pension. And
absolutely. So we've seen it a lot. And again, like I said, if you're listening to this and you're a police officer, I'm not looking to throw you under the bus, but you can take this into consideration of anybody who has a pension plan in the same understanding. If you have a pension plan or your spouse has a pension plan, that pension plan is extremely, extremely lucrative and extremely valuable, especially in today's day and age, because most places don't have pension plans. This is a guaranteed income stream, right? Forever, or as long as you're alive, really. Right. And spouses give up on those things because they're like, all right, I'll give into that. You can have that if I can have this. Yeah. Well, what are you getting for it? And again, I don't want to get crazy technical here for you guys, but what's the present value of that scenario versus what the future value of that scenario is? Is it equitable? Right?
Do you feel like people don't know that part of it? That they just look at, say, like that pension and like,
they do not know. No.
Wow.
It's about being educated. It's also about, too, definitely with a husband and wife scenario, know what your husband has, know what your wife has as far as the money goes. I mean, especially if you're, together and you do, let's say you do share all the bank accounts and you do share all of these. Know what your spouse has. Like, be really fully educated and aware of what they have on each side. That's for the husband or the wife. Just be educated. Know what they have.
Absolutely.
Know what you can have if, God forbid, they passed away. Know what they have if, God forbid, you had a divorce. Just know what they have. Be educated on that.
True story. Know a couple. Thankfully, they're working through things. They're not getting a divorce. But in this instance, her wife actually took her entire 401k without the other one knowing and basically continued to liquidate it. And she was a huge gambler. And she literally gambled away about $1 million of her current was a 401k. Now it's worth zero. So now it's a 0k. But it was about $1 million of 401k. And what she didn't understand was each year she was continuing to get this 1099 because they filed taxes as joint married. And they couldn't figure out why they owed more taxes all the time. and they couldn't figure it out. And the reason that they couldn't figure it out was it came to light one day when they finally got a notification that the money in the 401k, a letter came home to the house that the statement was there. And the statement actually had like, $100,000,
all the distributions, right?
$10,000 or $100,000
out, right?
And she looked it over and she's like, wait a minute, this used to be $1 million. Where did this thing go? You couldn't have lost $1 million in the market, especially the way the market has been. And then it was distribution after distribution after distribution. And then it dawned on her, wait a minute, that's why our taxes have been so much, because we've been getting extra numbers of dollars. We're not making this money, but you're taking it out of the 401k.
Right.
Now, just think about this. Now, they're not getting a divorce. Thankfully, hopefully it'll work through this thing. But what if you were married for 20, 30 years, and then you're finally at the point where you guys can't stand each other. You're about to get a divorce. You're thinking, hey, I got the house. I got this. You have a 401k. I have a 401k. Guess what? We're going to split this thing up. Okay, my 401k is worth this. Your 401k is worth that. Oh, wait a minute. Time out. Your 401k is worth what? Nothing? Or it's worth a hell of a lot less? Now, that's a crazy scenario because this person spent it on gambling. But what if the same spouses actually, instead of gambling, one invested it frivolously within the 401k, recklessly, speculatively, and the other one didn't?
Right.
Wouldn't that be another scenario? Because think about that. One went bonkers, could care less, has almost nothing. The other one was actually prudent. Now all of a sudden they don't like each other. Now they're getting a divorce. Now some of that 401k that the person was prudent about is going to what? Their ex-spouse.
I was about to say, because that equitable part on the split, they're getting a piece of that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think someone can actually, sit there crying in front of a judge or somebody like that and say, oh, I need the money. I can use it, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the way it is when you're sitting in front of somebody, you can come up with any story you're looking for. But the moral to the story here, ladies and gentlemen, is just, again, knowledge is power. Knowing what you and your spouse has and what you're both doing with your funds and being transparent with those things. Not only, and again, I'm not a marriage counselor here, so I can't say that it's always going to keep your marriage happier. But in the long run, you're actually going to be a little bit more happy too. And you probably put your head on the pillow and sleep better at night, knowing that what is there that you think is there is still there and it's not gone for whatever reason.
And another thing that we see a lot is also too, take a look at your taxes when husband and wife. When you do that tax form, I know a lot of either husbands or wives, either side would be like, oh, I took care of the taxes here, just sign the bottom of this. If you don't know what's being signed there, you can be responsible for things. And for a perfect example was just like, we're called the Real Retirees of New Jersey. You look at someone like, example, Teresa Giudice, who is on the Housewives of New Jersey and ended up going to jail because she was signing paperwork that she had no idea financially she was signing. But guess what?
She signed,
if your signature is on that page, she signed on the dotted line, and that ended her in jail for 18 months, I believe.
So, do you truly think that she did it now?
Yeah, I do. I truly believe. I truly believe.
Yeah, okay.
That a stay-at-home wife who's very happy and very comfortable getting money and enjoying life, here, just sign this, sweetie. We're doing great. Just sign the bottom here. Okay, sure. Here we go. This is seen all the time with husbands and wives.
See no evil, hear no evil. So
no evil. Hey, listen, things are great. Yeah. I get money. I could spend like frivolous. I could do whatever I want. I can have a good time. Yeah, honey, just sign the bottom of the taxes. We're just it
happens with home equity line of credits and things like that too.
Yes.
So don't think that it's just like a 401k fluke or what Peggy was just talking about taxes. Think about that too. I mean, if someone actually raids the equity of your home and you really you're unsuspecting of it, you don't really know. Like me, I don't think the last time I paid a bill was probably 30 years ago. Thank God Peggy's around, because if not, I'd have bill collectors at the door. But
that's true.
Or it's on auto pay, right? That's the only way things get paid. But, the fact of the matter is there are a lot of spouses in relationships where one basically does all the bill pays and takes care of everything at home.
Absolutely.
That happens. I mean, looking around, you have little leagues that are getting rated, and you have people that are on their boards that, have taken $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 out of booster clubs and little league teams and soccer clubs, right? It's the same concept. It's just somebody has got to be looking over this thing
once
in a while to keep people honest. I mean, 99% of the time, obviously spouses are honest with each other, I hope. But the fact of the matter is there's some places that, things go awry when, things aren't going well and then everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Things can go out of hand really quickly. And if, the one last thing you don't want is an eviction notice on your door because you found out that your spouse actually drained the equity in your home and it's not getting paid or you don't have the assets in order to pay these things back. And even if you divorce the person, it's not going to correct the issue because the money is essentially gone, right? So, don't be unsuspecting and naive about things. And I'm not saying be overly protective and crazy about it either, but at least be knowledgeable about the scenario in which you're in. And I keep going back to that whole thing. A financial net worth statement on an annual, maybe semi-annual basis is the easiest thing in the world to come up with. You can even do it on your own, but if you'd like to come in for a financial plan or you like to talk about stuff like that, we do this with our clients and prospective clients all the time. It's a simple piece of paper. It's a couple pages. You're putting down your assets and you're keeping it updated every once in a while. And it's one of those things where you say, hey, 6 months from now, if I'm updating it and I'm looking backward, how did I do? Well, if something's missing, it's easily going to pop up, right? So those are things to take into consideration. But, just a word to the wise.
Yeah. You're a very generous person when you say 99% of couples are completely honest with each other because,
Yeah, I actually started laughing at that, but kind of kept it quiet.
I sleep with one eye open.
You know what? Here's something to maybe consider as everything you were talking about, Randy, especially the, kind of getting eyes on things. I would almost encourage people that, especially if you're somebody, man, you've been in a bad relationship before. Maybe you've been divorced before. That there is no perfect, it's not always a fairy tale ending. And maybe understanding some of these things that we're talking about right now would be a good idea to know about before you decide to cross the altar there and basically sign yourself up for what could be potential disaster down the road if you don't know exactly what's going on the other side there.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's something called love bombing and breadcrumbing, right? So love bombing basically means that someone showers you with dreams of grandeur and showers you with gifts and things like that. And you fall in love and you get this relationship. And next thing you know, you're connected.
Living in
right?
hell.
Well, I mean, again, whatever happens and you're living in hell. And then breadcrumbing means that they continually come back like these last couple articles that we just went over where, the husband or the wife goes back and, hey, they're loving for a little bit. And it's like, hey, we can turn this thing around. And then next thing you know, 10, 15 years, 20 years of your life goes by, right? If you're in that scenario right now, lady or gentleman that's out there, seek advice. Whether it's financial advice or whether it's counseling or whether it's religious or whoever it is that you can actually go and speak to. But those are things that you don't want. You only live once, for the most part. I mean, depends on what you believe in. But for the fact is, you're only here for so long and life is short. You don't want 20, 30 years of your life to fly by and then regret it being stuck in a scenario which isn't going to really turn out well. So,
or 20, 30 years of your savings that you want to make sure that is protected and not, squandered away, like you said, gambling or doing something else.
If you want some information, some advice, some kind of eyes on what's going on, reach out to Peggy and Randy Fisher. LibertyFinGroupLLC.com. Again, LibertyFinGroupLLC.com. Set up a meeting. It's time to really take a good hard look at what's going on with the finances on both sides of a marriage because you come together, you think everything, like you said, Randy, is what's yours is Peggy's and what's Peggy's is Peggy's. I mean, that's how a marriage is supposed to work, right?
Exactly, Jeff. Good point. Good point.
That's the way mine works.
Reach out, LibertyFilmGroupLLC.com, the real retirees of New Jersey with Peggy and Randy Fisher. I'm Jeff Miles. Thanks so much, guys. This has been very informative and quite interesting at the same time as far as people need to think a little bit more about what's going on. I think people's emotions get really tied up in the relationship part and they don't realize, and I'm sure for many people, it's something that all of a sudden hits you when you're going through the process of, let's say, a divorce, where it's like, yeah, this has been an emotional trauma, but then when you lump in the financial aspect of it, they may not even know until that part gets brought into the whole process. So get on it now.
Hey, time's a wasting.
There you go. All right. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Like and subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Make sure you put it down, The Real Retirees of New Jersey, so that you can get notifications every time we have a brand new episode loading. So thanks for listening. Peggy and Randy, I'll talk to you guys next time.
Next time.
Thank you.
We are an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of financial and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Investment advisor services offered through Artemis Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Artemis Wealth Advisors is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstances. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Randolph A. Fisher, insurance license number 9616074, and Liberty Financial Group, LLC, and Peggy Fisher, national license number 189-42003 and 570-5833.